Natalie, you are not on the guest list. My mother's voice was low, polished, and sharp enough to cut through the music behind her. Do not turn Vanessa's wedding into another one of your problems. Mom blocked me at my sister's wedding and whispered, "Only real family gets inside." I smiled, walked away, and disputed the $50,900 bill in my name. That night, her perfect new in-laws asked one question. Mom broke down. For a moment, I thought the jet lag had twisted her words. I stood on the stone path outside Willow Creek Manor, still carrying the wrapped wedding gift in both hands. White roses climbed the archway behind my mother. A string quartet played somewhere beyond the double doors. Guests in navy suits and pastel dresses drifted past with champagne glasses, smiling like nothing ugly could happen in a place that smelled of gardenias and money. I had flown 15 and a half hours from Germany to Raleigh. 2 flights, 1 layover, a rental car counter that could not find my reservation, and a hotel room I barely slept in. I had pressed my navy dress that morning with the little travel steamer I packed beside my uniform boots. I had even bought Vanessa the chef's knife set she once said would make her feel like a real Southern wife on Sunday dinners. And now my mother, Diane Whitmore, was standing between me and my sister's wedding, not hugging me, not asking how the flight was, not saying, "I'm glad you made it home," just blocking the door. "Mom," I said carefully, because training had taught me that the first person to raise her voice usually lost control. "I'm here for Vanessa." Her eyes flicked past my shoulder, checking whether anyone had heard. "This is not the time," she whispered. I looked at her champagne-colored dress, the pearl earrings, the perfect sweep of her silver blonde hair. She looked exactly like the kind of mother people praised in church basements. Graceful, long-suffering, respectable. The kind of woman who knew how to cry quietly and be admired for it. "The ceremony starts at 2, I said. "You texted me that yesterday." "I told you when it started. I did not tell you to come early and create confusion." I glanced at my watch. It was 1:37. "Confusion?" I repeated. Her mouth tightened. "The seating has been finalized. The Caldwells are very particular. Patricia has worked hard to keep everything smooth." Patricia Caldwell, Ethan's mother, Vanessa's soon-to-be mother-in-law. A woman I had never met, but had already learned to respect through the way my mother spoke her name. Half admiration, half fear. "I'm Vanessa's sister," I said. Diane leaned closer. "And today is Vanessa's day, not yours." The sentence landed with an old familiar weight. My whole childhood had been built around versions of it. Vanessa was hurting. Vanessa was fragile. Vanessa needed protecting. Natalie could handle it. Natalie was strong. Strong had never meant loved in our house. Strong meant available. Strong meant silent. Strong meant useful. I lowered my voice. "My name is on the venue paperwork." Diane's expression changed so quickly that I almost missed it. A flash of panic, then offense, then the wounded dignity she wore whenever she wanted me to feel cruel. "Do not discuss money at a wedding entrance," she said. "It's tasteless." Tasteless? I stared at her. "You asked me to put my card down for the venue, the caterer, the florist, and the photographer. And no one asked you to announce it." "I didn't announce it. I came home." Her nostrils flared. "You live in Germany, Natalie. You are not part of our day-to-day life anymore. You cannot just appear and expect everyone to rearrange around you." A laugh almost escaped me, but it would have sounded broken. "I didn't appear," I said. I was invited by my own understanding of being family. Diane's eyes hardened. That was when I knew, not guessed, knew. There had been no lost invitation, no innocent mix-up, no busy wedding week mistake. My mother had not forgotten to include me. She had remembered to remove me. I looked past her through the open doorway. I could see rows of chairs, white ribbons tied along the aisle, Vanessa's bridal portrait displayed near a guest book. My sister's smile was soft, glowing, untouched by the kind of shame currently being handed to me outside. "Did Vanessa know?" I asked. Diane pressed her lips together. That silence answered more cleanly than any confession. My fingers tightened around the gift. "You used my name for this wedding, but you left me off the guest list." Her face turned cold. "You have always said you were stronger than your sister. Then be strong at the right time. Do not ruin this for her." There was the family prayer, the family sentence, the family chain. I looked at my mother, and for the first time in years, I did not see a woman who had survived being left. I saw a woman who had learned how to turn being left into a weapon. I set the gift on the stone step beside the door. "For Vanessa," I said. Diane glanced down at it, then back at the guests. She gave one quick nod, as if I had finally behaved. I walked away without another word. The gravel shifted under my heels. Behind me, someone laughed. A bell rang softly from inside the manor. I reached my rental car, got in, closed the door, and sat with both hands on the steering wheel. I did not cry. Not then. I had spent 12 years in the Army learning how to breathe through shock, how to separate pain from action, how to wait until the room showed me where the exits were. And sitting in that car, outside the wedding my name had helped secure, I began to see every exit my mother thought she had hidden. I learned the meaning of strong in Fayetteville, North Carolina, when I was 12 years old and my father's side of the closet went empty. Raymond Whitmore did not slam doors when he left. He did not make some grand speech about freedom or regret. He packed folded shirts into 2 suitcases, loaded them into an old gray pickup, and told Vanessa and me he would call after he got settled. Vanessa cried so hard she made herself sick. I stood beside the kitchen table and watched my mother stare through the screen door like she could still keep him from disappearing if she refused to blink. That night, Diane Whitmore made grilled cheese sandwiches because it was all she had the strength to cook. The edges were burned, the cheese barely melted, and nobody said a word about it. She sat across from us with red eyes and said, "Girls, from now on, it's just us." Vanessa reached for her hand. I reached for the plates. That was the first difference between us. Vanessa was 3 years older, but in our house, age never mattered as much as temperament. She was pretty in a way people noticed quickly, with soft brown hair and eyes that filled before a sentence ended. Teachers gave her extra time. Church ladies hugged her longer. Mom called her sensitive, as if it were a medical condition everyone else had to respect. I was called practical, responsible, level-headed. By 7th grade, I knew which bills went under the magnet on the refrigerator and which envelopes made my mother breathe harder. I knew how to start a load of laundry before school, how to stretch a pound of ground beef with beans, how to tell Vanessa that Dad probably forgot to call because Arizona was in a different time zone. Arizona became the place where promises went to die. At first, Raymond sent birthday cards. Then cards became late. Then late became rare. He remarried a woman named Carol, and suddenly every conversation had an echo of another family in the background. A dog barking, a younger child laughing, a life that sounded warm without us. Mom never stopped working. She cleaned offices before sunrise and did bookkeeping for a small auto shop 3 afternoons a week. I saw her feet swollen over the straps of her shoes. I heard her cry in the kitchen when she thought the faucet covered the sound. I loved her for surviving. That was the dangerous part, because love made me easy to train. If Vanessa came home upset because someone asked about Dad, Mom would look at me and say, "Nat, go sit with your sister. She takes things harder than you." If the car needed an oil change and Mom could not leave work, I was handed the bus schedule. If dinner was late, I cooked. If I was scared, I got quiet. One evening when I was 14, I brought home a permission slip for a school trip to Washington, D.C. It cost $180. I had circled the deadline in blue ink and practiced asking in a cheerful voice. Mom was at the sink. Vanessa was crying upstairs because Raymond had forgotten her birthday again. I held out the paper. Mom barely looked at it. "Natalie, not tonight. It's due Friday." She turned, tiredness sitting heavy on her face. "Your sister is heartbroken. Please don't make everything harder." I folded the permission slip once, then twice, until it fit in my pocket. On Friday, I told my teacher I had changed my mind. That became my specialty, changing my mind before anyone had to deny me. By high school, Vanessa got the bedroom with the better window because she needed light for her moods. She got Mom's old car first because she was nervous driving at night. She got excuses wrapped in sympathy. I got praise that came with chores attached. "You're my steady girl. You don't fall apart. You understand what this family has been through." Those sentences sounded like love when I was young. Later, I understood they were invoices written in a mother's handwriting. I joined ROTC partly because I wanted college money, partly because uniforms made more sense than family. In the Army, if someone gave an order, there was a structure behind it, a rank, a reason, a consequence if power was misused. At home, power wore an apron, wiped tears from its cheeks, and called itself sacrifice. The week I left for basic training, Vanessa sobbed into my shoulder at the airport. Mom hugged me with one arm while holding Vanessa with the other. "You'll be fine," she whispered into my hair. "You're stronger than both of us." I wanted to ask what I was allowed to be when I was tired. Instead, I nodded, because that was what strong daughters did. They carried the suitcase. They swallowed the question. They walked through security without looking back too long. By the time Vanessa met Ethan Caldwell, I had already learned that distance did not end family obligations. It only made them arrive by phone. I was stationed in Germany, living in a small apartment near Wiesbaden, where my calendar was built around duty rosters, training reports, and calls that came at odd hours from North Carolina. Mom never called just to talk for long. She called when Vanessa's car needed repairs, when the property tax bill had come at a bad time, when a cousin was asking questions about money, when she needed someone calm, quick, and useful. "Natalie, honey, I hate to ask," she would begin. She always hated to ask. She never hated it enough to stop. Vanessa, meanwhile, stayed close to home. She worked at a boutique for a while, then at a real estate office, then helped coordinate church events. Every change was presented as a season of growth. If I changed assignments, it was duty. If Vanessa changed jobs, it was healing. Ethan Caldwell entered her life at a fundraiser for a veterans housing charity in Raleigh. That detail mattered to Mom. She repeated it like a line from a family brochure. "He respects service," she told me. "His family has always supported the military." Ethan was 37, polite, steady, the kind of man who owned more button-down shirts than t-shirts. He worked as an insurance and financial advisor, sang badly but confidently in church, and called older women ma'am without sounding fake. His family had deep North Carolina roots. Not old money exactly, but careful money. The kind that lived in a brick house with trimmed hedges, gave to the church building fund, sent handwritten thank you notes, and knew which fork belonged with salad without making a joke of it. His mother, Patricia Caldwell, was the center of that orbit. I had never met her, but I knew her through Mom's voice. Patricia served on boards. Patricia hosted Easter brunch. Patricia believed weddings were not just about two people, but about two families joining in front of God, guests, and community memory. Mom said that last part 3 times. Community memory. That was when I heard the hunger underneath her excitement. Diane Whitmore did not just want Vanessa married. She wanted Vanessa received, approved, folded into a family that did not have divorce papers yellowing in a box, collection notices once hidden under a toaster, and a younger daughter who knew where all the cracks were. At first, I tried to be happy for them. Vanessa sent me a picture from her 3rd date with Ethan. They were standing outside a barbecue restaurant, laughing under a red neon sign. She looked softer than I had seen her in years. "He's different, Nat," she said during a call. "He listens." I wanted that to be true. I wanted my sister to be loved by someone who did not require her to perform helplessness to receive care. But Mom's excitement sharpened into strategy. She began talking about presentation, about how the Caldwells were traditional but kind, about how Patricia valued stability, about how no one needed to drag old family pain into Vanessa's future. Old family pain. That was what she called the truth when she wanted it quiet. One Sunday afternoon, Mom called while I was reviewing training notes at my kitchen table. Rain tapped against a German window glass. "Patricia asked about you," she said. I looked up. "She did?" "Yes. I told her you're doing very important work overseas." There was pride in her voice, but it felt polished for display. "What else did you tell her?" A pause. "Only that you're busy. You know how military life is. People understand." People understand. In my family, that phrase usually meant someone else had already chosen the version of me that best served them. I thought about the things Patricia did not know. That Mom had once used my emergency fund to cover Vanessa's missed car payment. That Vanessa had cried her way out of responsibility so often, she had begun to believe tears were proof of innocence. That Raymond had been turned into a ghost story more convenient than complicated. And me? I was the daughter who made the family look strong from a distance, as long as I did not stand close enough for anyone to ask what strength had cost me. When Vanessa and Ethan got engaged, Mom saw more than a wedding. She saw a stage. White flowers, church friends, respectable in-laws, a mother of the bride dress in champagne satin, a chance to retell the Whitmore story with soft lighting and no missing pages. There was only one problem. I was one of the missing pages. And Mom had already started deciding whether the story would read better without me. Vanessa called me on a Tuesday night in Germany, just as I was reheating soup and pretending it counted as dinner. Her name lit up my phone, followed by 3 heart emojis. That alone made me pause. Vanessa did not usually call without warning, unless she was upset. And she never used 3 hearts unless she wanted the moment to feel bigger than the truth underneath it. I answered with the phone propped against a mug. "Nat!" she squealed. Before I could ask what happened, she thrust her left hand toward the camera. A diamond flashed so close to the screen that it blurred into white fire. For 1 second, I forgot every old resentment. "Oh my God," I said laughing. "Vanessa!" "I know!" She was crying, but these were the pretty tears. The kind that made people lean closer instead of step back. Ethan proposed after dinner. At the little garden behind the restaurant, there were lights everywhere. Behind her, I saw Mom's kitchen in North Carolina. The same yellow walls, the same white cabinets. the same clock above the stove that had been 5 minutes slow since I was 16. Mom stood behind Vanessa with one hand pressed to her chest, smiling like she had personally been rescued. "My baby is getting married," she said. I smiled because I wanted to mean it. "Congratulations. Really, I'm happy for you." Vanessa tilted the ring again. "It's vintage inspired. Patricia helped him choose a setting." Patricia. The name entered the call like a guest already seated at the table. "That was nice of her," I said. Mom moved closer to the camera. "The Caldwells are wonderful people. Just wonderful. Very family-oriented." I caught the emphasis but stepped around it. "So when's the wedding?" Vanessa glanced sideways, not at the screen, but at Mom. It was quick, half a second, a small family signal I knew too well. Mom answered for her. "We're thinking early fall, but nothing is final." "Early fall gives me time to request leave," I said. "Send me the date as soon as you have it. I'll fly in." Vanessa's smile froze around the edges. Mom gave a soft laugh. "Honey, don't put pressure on yourself. You're all the way in Germany." "Well, I know where I am, Mom." "I only mean travel is exhausting and expensive. This may be a smaller wedding." Vanessa tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Intimate." "Oh, that's fine," I said. "I'm immediate family." The air changed. Not dramatically. No thunder, no slammed door. Just a thin little silence, the kind people create when they are deciding how much of the truth you deserve. Mom recovered first. "Of course, sweetheart. We just don't want you making yourself miserable over logistics." "I handle logistics for a living." Vanessa gave a nervous laugh. "She does, Mom." But Mom did not laugh with her. "Well," she said, "weddings are emotional logistics. That's different." I studied her face through the screen. The lighting in the kitchen made her look softer than she was. Or maybe I had always done that myself. "Is there a hotel block?" I asked. "Not yet," Vanessa said. "Rehearsal dinner?" "We're still discussing it." "Dress code?" Mom waved one hand. "We'll tell you everything when we need to." When we need to. There it was. In my family, need was the doorbell. Love was rarely the reason anyone opened the door. Still, I chose not to push. I had been trained for that too. Not by the army, by years of watching Mom's face tighten whenever my questions got too close to her plans. Vanessa spent the next 10 minutes telling me about Ethan's proposal, the restaurant, the wine, the way he had asked her to stand under the string lights because he wanted the pictures to look warm. I listened. I asked the right questions. I even told her the ring suited her hand. And it did. Vanessa had always been good at looking like the life she wanted was already hers. Before we hung up, Mom leaned toward the camera again. "You'll be included, Natalie," she said, almost too gently. "Just let me handle things." I wanted to believe her. That was the part I am least proud of. Not because trust is shameful, but because somewhere deep down, I heard the warning. I heard Vanessa's pause. I heard Mom choosing words like curtains, pulling them across the window before I could see inside. But I was tired that night. Tired of being suspicious. Tired of being the daughter who noticed every crack. Tired of wanting a mother who could say, plainly and without strategy, "Come home. We want you there." So I nodded at a phone screen 6,000 miles away. "Okay," I said. "Just send me the details." Vanessa blew me a kiss. Mom smiled. The call ended. My apartment went quiet again, except for the rain tapping the window and the microwave beeping behind me. On the black screen of my phone, I could still see the faint reflection of my own face. For a moment, I looked like someone waiting to be invited into her own family. Mom called on a Sunday, late evening in Germany. "Natalie, honey," she said, "do you have a minute?" That tone tightened my shoulders. It was the voice she used when a problem had already been dressed up as family duty. "What's wrong?" "Oh, nothing terrible, just wedding paperwork." Willow Creek Manor needed a credit card authorization to hold the date. The caterer required a card on file. The florist wanted a deposit schedule. The photographer had a cancellation clause. All standard, she added quickly. People rushed the word standard when they did not want questions. Why isn't Vanessa doing it? She doesn't have enough credit history for that size hold. Ethan is covering other pieces, and I don't want Patricia thinking we can't manage our side. There was Patricia Caldwell again, sitting unseen in the middle of our decisions. "What about your card?" Mom sighed. "After the refinance, mine isn't where it should be. You know what the divorce did to me." "How much?" "The package is $33,200. I went still. "But you are not paying for the wedding," she said. "We only need your card as a guarantee and the initial deposit. $5,150. I'll pay you back before your statement closes." "Mom, I know it sounds like a lot, but Natalie, you are the only one I can trust." That sentence went straight through the armor I had spent years building. Not the only one she could use. The only one she could trust. I hated how badly I wanted that to be true. She softened her voice. "You understand paperwork. Vanessa is emotional. Please don't make her feel like a burden." The old machinery inside me started moving. Vanessa must not feel burdened. Mom must not be embarrassed. Natalie can handle it. "Send me the contract," I said. The documents arrived within minutes. The businesses were real. The amounts matched. The deposit was clear. My card would secure the date, with final payment due after the event unless other arrangements were made. I read most of it, not all. That is the part that still burns. Before I signed, I asked, "What about my invitation? Do I need to RSVP somewhere?" Mom laughed softly. "Sweetheart, you're family. You don't RSVP like a stranger. I'll handle your seating, hotel details, everything." I wanted to hear that so badly that I accepted it as proof. I typed my name, Natalie Ann Whitmore. I entered my card information. I clicked authorize. Approved. Mom exhaled as if I had pulled her out of deep water. "You have no idea what this means to me," she said. For once, I wished she had stopped there. But she added, "Vanessa deserves one perfect day." I looked at the contract on my screen, not yet understanding that perfection, in my mother's hands, always required someone else to disappear. The first photo appeared on a Thursday morning while I was drinking coffee from a paper cup outside the operations building. Vanessa stood in front of a bridal boutique mirror, wearing a satin gown pinned tight at the waist. Mom was behind her, one hand over her mouth, eyes shining. The caption read, "Watching my firstborn become a bride. God is faithful." My firstborn. I stared at those words longer than I should have. Technically, they were true. Vanessa was born before me, but Mom wrote them like she had only ever been given one daughter worth presenting. I liked the photo anyway. That was what I did then. I liked things. I sent heart emojis. I typed, "You look beautiful, Van." She replied 6 hours later, "Thank you. It's been crazy." Crazy became the official language of the wedding. Cake tasting was crazy. Floral meetings were crazy. Guest lists were crazy. Patricia's brunch expectations were crazy. Every update I received came after the fact, wrapped in exhaustion, never invitation. There was a bridal shower at Patricia Caldwell's house with monogram napkins and cucumber sandwiches. I found out through Facebook. There was a Sunday lunch where both families discussed rehearsal dinner options. I found out because Mom posted a picture of Ethan holding Vanessa's hand across a table. There was a bridesmaid group chat. I knew because Vanessa accidentally mentioned the girls voting on shoe colors. What girls? I asked during a call. Oh, she said too quickly. Just friends from church, nothing formal. Nothing formal became another family phrase. I was not formally excluded. I was simply never included soon enough to matter. When I asked Mom about travel details, she gave me weather instead. North Carolina is still warm in September, honey. Bring something light. What hotel is everyone using? We're still figuring that out. Do I need to be at the rehearsal? A small pause. We don't want to overcomplicate things with your flight. My flight is not complicated. I just need information. Mom sighed like I had asked her to move a mountain. Natalie, please. I am managing a lot. There it was again, the sacred wall of her exhaustion. No question was allowed to climb over it, so I backed down. From my apartment in Wiesbaden, I watched the Whitmore-Caldwell wedding become a polished little industry. White roses, gold-rimmed plates, a bourbon bar Ethan apparently loved, a photographer who specialized in timeless Southern romance. Mom shared posts about raising daughters alone. Church friends commented with praying hands and red hearts. Diane, you are such an example of strength. Vanessa is blessed to have you. What a beautiful family. A beautiful family. The phrase sat in my chest like a stone. I wondered what Patricia Caldwell had been told about me. Maybe that I was busy. Maybe that military life kept me away. Maybe that I preferred distance. Those explanations would be easy to believe. People respected service from afar. They rarely asked what the service member lost at home while serving. One evening, after a 12-hour day, I called Vanessa. Do you want me to wear a specific color? I asked. She sounded distracted. For what? The wedding. Oh, navy is fine, I guess. You guess? No, I mean, wear whatever makes you comfortable. I looked at the dark window over my kitchen sink. Am I sitting with family? Another pause. Mom is doing the seating. Vanessa. What? Do you want me there? Her breath caught slightly. Of course I do, Nat. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic. That word had always been used on me. Whenever I named something everyone else wanted unnamed. I'm not being dramatic, I said. I'm asking a simple question. And I answered it. But she had not. She had stepped around it with the careful footwork of someone avoiding broken glass she had helped drop. After we hung up, I opened my leave request form and filled it out anyway. Dates, destination, emergency contact, purpose of travel, family wedding. The words looked official, clean, almost innocent. I submitted the request and sat very still while the screen confirmed it had been sent. Somewhere in North Carolina, my mother was building a wedding beautiful enough to impress strangers. Vanessa was floating through it like a woman born to be adored. The Caldwells were preparing to welcome a bride from a family they believed they understood. And I, the daughter whose credit card held the door open, still did not know whether there would be a chair for me inside. I did not know about the second email then. That discovery came later, after the wedding entrance, after the stone step, after the drive back to my hotel with my hands steady only because I refused to let them shake. But the lie began 3 weeks before the ceremony. Mom created an address close enough to mine that a busy coordinator would not question it at first glance. My real email used my full name in a military-friendly format. Hers used natalie.whitmore.service, the kind of address that looked harmless if you were juggling seating charts, vendor calls, and a bride's mother who sounded perfectly informed. She introduced herself to Melissa Grant at Willow Creek Manor as the mother of the bride and the authorized family contact. That part was clever. Mom did not need to pretend to be me every second. She only needed to stand close enough to my signature that people assumed she had permission. The first upgrade was floral. Vanessa had apparently changed her mind about simple white roses and greenery. She wanted a fuller arch, aisle arrangements, and loose flowers around the cake table. The added cost was not small, but it was pretty enough to be excused. Then came the patio lights. Then the bourbon bar Ethan loved. Then 2 extra hours with the photographer because Patricia Caldwell believed the send-off photos mattered. Then outdoor decor, heaters in case the evening cooled, and a late adjustment to the cocktail tables. Each request arrived dressed as refinement. Nothing sounded reckless by itself. That was how people like my mother built disasters. Not with one explosion, but with 10 tasteful decisions no one wanted to challenge. From the false email, I approved them. Yes, the floral upgrade is fine. Please add the bourbon bar package. I would prefer to keep my sponsorship private. This is my gift to Vanessa. My gift. I was in Germany reviewing readiness reports while a ghost wearing my name became generous on paper. Mom even used my rank. She told Melissa that her daughter was an army captain stationed overseas, that I might not be able to travel because of duty, and asked whether any courtesy discount was available for military families. That detail still makes my stomach turn. My uniform had never been a costume. My service was not a coupon. But to Diane Whitmore, even my rank was another tool in the drawer. The original package had been $33,200. By the time Mom finished polishing Vanessa's perfect day, the projected total had climbed to $50,900. And somewhere in the middle of all that, my chair disappeared. The first seating chart Melissa drafted placed me at the family table. Not beside Vanessa, not in some honored position, just a reasonable seat where a sister belonged. 2 weeks before the wedding, Mom emailed a correction. Natalie would be unable to attend due to military duty. That sentence was clean, practical, and false. It explained my absence before I even arrived. It protected the story. It made my missing body look noble instead of deliberate. Vanessa knew enough to see the gap. She knew I had asked about colors. She knew I had submitted leave. She knew Mom was handling everything. Maybe she did not see the false email. Maybe she did not know the balance had ballooned. But she knew there was no place set for me. And she let the table stay that way. That was the part I would struggle with later. Mom had designed the lie, yes. But Vanessa had lived inside it comfortably because the lie gave her what she wanted. A flawless wedding, no awkward questions, no sister standing nearby as a reminder of everything our family had done to stay beautiful from the outside. If someone had challenged Mom then, she would have cried. If someone had challenged Vanessa, she would have trembled. And if someone had challenged me, back then, I probably would have said it was fine. That was why they counted on me. Not because I was careless, because I had been obedient for so long that my silence looked guaranteed. My leave was approved on a Monday. I remember staring at the confirmation longer than necessary, as if the Army had granted me something my family still had not. Permission to go home. Permission to stand in a room where my sister would promise forever in front of people who believed we were close. The ticket from Frankfurt to Raleigh cost more than I wanted to admit. Add the rental car, 2 hotel nights, and the chef's knife set Vanessa once admired online, and the trip came to $3,250 before I had even zipped my suitcase. I did not complain. That was another old habit. Strong daughters did not complain about the price of showing up. On Friday morning, I packed my navy dress, low heels, travel steamer, makeup bag, and the wedding gift wrapped in cream paper with a silver ribbon. I paused over my uniform hanging in the closet, then left it there. This was not duty, I told myself. This was family. The flights blurred together. Airport coffee, a crying baby 2 rows back, a businessman snoring beside me from Charlotte to Raleigh. By the time I reached the rental car counter, my shoulders ached and my eyes felt full of sand. Still, when the North Carolina air hit me outside baggage claim, humid and warm even after sunset, something in me softened. Home had a smell. Pine trees, asphalt after heat, fast food drifting from the road near the airport. The South did not ask whether it had hurt you before it made you remember it. I checked into a hotel 15 minutes from Willow Creek Manor. The lobby had a bowl of wrapped peppermints, a clerk who called me ma'am, and a framed print of a lighthouse no one in Raleigh had ever needed. Upstairs, I set Vanessa's gift on the desk and texted Mom. Just checked in. What time should I arrive tomorrow? I watched the screen for a while. No answer. I showered, steamed my dress, put the gift near the door so I would not forget it. 47 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Ceremony is at 2. Don't come too early. Venue will be setting up. That was it. No glad you made it. No how was the flight. No can't wait to see you. I read the message 3 times, searching for warmth, the way a hungry person searches an empty pantry. Then I did what I always did. I made an excuse for her. She was busy. Weddings were stressful. Patricia Caldwell probably had opinions about napkin folds. Vanessa was likely nervous. Mom had carried too much for too long. The next morning, I woke before my alarm. I curled my hair, then brushed most of it out because too much softness made me feel exposed. I put on the navy dress, simple earrings, light makeup. Nothing that could be called attention-seeking by a woman already determined to misunderstand me. In the mirror, I looked composed. That was the word people liked to use for women who had learned not to ask for comfort. Before leaving, I touched the ribbon on Vanessa's gift and whispered, "Be happy, Van." For a moment, I meant it without resentment. Dear listeners, if you were in Natalie's place, would you walk into that wedding, or would you turn around before the first insult landed? Please leave a like, share your advice in the comments, and stay with the story, because what waits behind that beautiful Southern wedding will make the whole Caldwell family freeze in their seats. The drive to Willow Creek Manor took me past roads I knew from childhood. A gas station where Mom once cried because her car declined. A church sign promising grace. A row of oak trees bending over the road like they remembered every family secret carried beneath them. I gripped the steering wheel and told myself not to arrive with old pain on my face. At 1:31, the venue appeared beyond a white fence. Cars lined the gravel lot. Music floated through the trees. Guests moved toward the entrance in careful shoes and pale colors. I parked, checked my lipstick in the mirror, and lifted Vanessa's gift from the passenger seat. For one foolish breath, I believed the worst was over because I had made it there. Then I saw my mother at the door. Her smile vanished before I reached the steps. Willow Creek Manor was prettier than the photos. Old oak trees shaded the lawn, their branches strung with tiny lights that would glow after sunset. White chairs faced a floral arch near the garden fountain. A server passed with a tray of sparkling water and champagne, smiling as if every person there belonged. I stepped onto the stone path with Vanessa's gift held against my ribs. Mom saw me before I reached the doorway. Her face changed so fast, it almost looked like fear. 1 second, she was the elegant mother of the bride, smiling at guests in a champagne satin dress. The next, she was moving toward me with short, sharp steps, her hand lifting slightly like she could stop me with a gesture. "Natalie," she said. Not Nat, not Honey, not You Made It, just my name, clipped clean. "Mom." She came close enough that her perfume wrapped around me, powdery and expensive. "What are you doing here?" For a moment, I honestly thought I had misheard. "I'm here for Vanessa's wedding." Her eyes moved over my shoulder. A couple I did not know walked past us, laughing softly. Mom smiled at them until they were gone. Then her expression flattened. "This is not appropriate." I looked down at myself, at the navy dress I had chosen because it was modest, tasteful, impossible to accuse. "What isn't appropriate?" "You arriving like this." "Like what?" "Without coordination." I let out a slow breath. "I asked you what time to come. You told me to." "I told you when the ceremony started." "Mom, I flew from Germany." Her jaw tightened, and I saw the old calculation behind her eyes. How much could she say? How much could be heard? How quickly could she make me responsible for the discomfort she had created? She touched my elbow, not gently, and guided me toward the side of the entrance. "The guest list is finalized," she whispered. "The seating is finalized. Patricia has been very careful about the flow of the day." "I'm not a late vendor delivery. I'm your daughter." "Natalie, lower your voice." "My voice is already low." Her cheeks colored. "Do not start." That phrase pulled me backward 20 years. Do not start meant do not name it. Do not ask. Do not make your pain inconvenient. Behind her, through the open doors, I could see the welcome table. A framed sign read, "The Wedding of Vanessa Whitmore and Ethan Caldwell." Beside it sat cream place cards in neat rows, each name written in gold ink. Somewhere in that beautiful order, mine was missing. "Where am I seated?" I asked. Mom glanced toward the table, then back at me. "Natalie, where am I seated? You are not on the guest list." The words did not hit all at once. They entered slowly, like cold water rising in a locked room. I stared at her. "Say that again?" "This is an intimate event. I am Vanessa's sister, and today is not about you." A server stepped outside carrying empty glasses. Mom immediately turned her face into something calm and noble. The server passed without slowing. When we were alone again, I said, "My card is on file for this venue." Her eyes flashed. "Do not discuss money at a wedding entrance. It is tasteless." "Tasteless is asking your daughter to secure a wedding and then barring her from it." "You were helping your sister." "I was told I was family." "You are family," she said quickly, "but you live overseas. You're not part of the day-to-day reality here." I almost laughed. Day-to-day reality. The phrase sounded rehearsed. Maybe she had practiced it for Patricia Caldwell. Maybe she had practiced it for herself. "So I'm close enough to guarantee the bill," I said, "but too far away to sit in a chair?" Mom's mouth thinned. "You always do this." "Do what?" "Turn practical decisions into emotional attacks." There it was, the reversal, the family trick. I had not been excluded. I was being emotional. I had not been used. I was being dramatic. I had not been erased. I was making a scene. I looked past her again. For half a second, I saw Vanessa near the hallway, surrounded by bridesmaids in pale blue. Her hair was pinned up, her veil falling over one shoulder. She looked toward the entrance. Our eyes met. Then she looked away. That small movement hurt more than Mom's words. "Did Vanessa know?" I asked. Mom folded her hands in front of her. "Vanessa has enough on her plate." "Oh, that is not an answer." but is the only answer you need today. I nodded slowly, because if I spoke too soon, my voice might break, and I refused to give her that. Then Mom leaned closer and delivered the sentence she had been saving. You have always been stronger than your sister. Be strong now. Do not ruin this for her. The music swelled inside. Guests began shifting toward the garden. Someone called for the mother of the bride. Mom looked relieved. I held out the gift. This is for Vanessa. She did not reach for it, so I placed it on the stone step beside the entrance. For a second, Mom looked embarrassed by the object, as if even the gift was proof that I had expected love where only strategy had been prepared. I turned and walked back down the path. The gravel pressed through the soles of my heels. My face stayed still. My back stayed straight. Years of discipline carried me to the rental car when my heart could not have made the walk alone. Only after I closed the door did I let my hands grip the steering wheel hard enough to ache. Inside the manor, my sister's wedding began on time. Outside, the woman whose name helped hold it together sat in a rented car and finally understood that silence had been their plan all along. I drove back to the hotel with the radio off. North Carolina sunlight flashed through the windshield, bright and ordinary, as if the world had not just shifted under my feet. I kept both hands at 10 and 2. I watched speed limits. I used my turn signal. Discipline gave my body something to do while my mind replayed the door. You are not on the guest list. At a red light, I looked down and realized my left hand was still curled like it was holding Vanessa's gift. But the gift was on the stone step now, exactly where Mom had wanted me. Outside, in my hotel room, the air conditioner hummed too loudly. I kicked off my heels, sat at the desk, and opened my laptop. I did not pour a drink. I did not call Vanessa. I did not text Mom something wounded that she could screenshot and use against me. I logged into the email account where the wedding contract had first arrived. The original documents were easy to find. Willow Creek Manor, Bloom and Branch Florals, Harris Table Catering, Larkin Photography. A clean little folder of respectable businesses and digital signatures. The first number matched what Mom had told me, $33,200. The deposit matched too, $5,150 charged to my card. That part hurt, but it did not surprise me. I had agreed to it, foolishly or not. Trust can be a signature when you are desperate enough to be chosen. Then I found the revised invoice. At first, I thought I was reading the wrong event file. Floral upgrade, patio lighting package, bourbon bar extension, photographer overtime, additional cocktail tables, outdoor heaters, premium linen change, late adjustment fee. The total balance had climbed to $50,900. I sat very still. That was not wedding stress. That was not a misunderstanding. That was a financial cliff with my name painted on the edge. I opened the authorization trail. Some approvals came from my actual email, the early ones, the ones I remembered. Then, 3 weeks before the wedding, another address appeared, natalie.whitmore.service. I stared at it until the letters blurred. It was close enough to look real if someone expected it to be real. Close enough to fool a busy coordinator. Close enough to wear my name like a borrowed coat. But it was not mine. I clicked through each message. Yes, the floral upgrade is fine. Please add the bourbon bar package. I approve the additional photography hours. Then the sentence that made my stomach turn cold. Please keep my sponsorship private. This is my gift to Vanessa. My gift. I had been outside the door while a fake version of me smiled from the paperwork. I downloaded every invoice. every email, every timestamp. I took screenshots and saved them in 3 places: laptop, cloud drive, external folder. Army habits. Redundancy saves you when memory becomes a battlefield. Then I found the seating chart revision. The first draft had my name at table 1, Natalie Whitmore, family table, not honored, not centered, but present. 2 weeks later, the revised file removed me. Reason? Unable to attend due to military duty. I pushed back from the desk and covered my mouth, not because I was crying, because if I made a sound, it might become something I could not control. She had not forgotten me. She had prepared my absence. She had given people a noble explanation before I even landed. Captain Whitmore was serving overseas. Captain Whitmore could not make it. Captain Whitmore was privately sponsoring her sister's wedding from afar. It was beautiful, really, if you liked lies arranged like flowers. My phone lit up. Mom. I watched it ring until the screen went dark. A minute later, a voicemail appeared. I did not play it. Not yet. Instead, I opened a new document and began a timeline. Date of engagement call. Date of financial requests. Date I signed. Date Mom said she would handle RSVP. Date of false email approvals. Date my name was removed from seating. Date I arrived in Raleigh. Date I was denied entry. At the top, I typed one sentence. This is no longer a family disagreement. The cursor blinked after the period. For the first time all day, my breathing settled. Pain still lived in the room with me. So did humiliation. So did the old little girl ache that wanted a mother to knock on the hotel door and say she had made a terrible mistake. But another part of me had arrived too. The part trained to document. The part trained to wait. The part trained to understand that when someone builds a lie with paperwork, the paperwork can burn it down. I came back at 5:18 p.m., not through the front entrance. I had already learned what that door was worth. I parked near the edge of the lot. The ceremony was over. Cocktail hour had begun. Laughter floated across the lawn. Glasses chimed. The place had shifted from vows to bourbon, from church smiles to expensive ease. I walked to the rear patio. The French doors stood open just enough for sound to spill out. I told myself I only wanted to see whether Vanessa had found my gift. Then I heard my mother laugh. It was the warm laugh, the public one. Diane stood near Patricia Caldwell. Vanessa and Ethan were accepting congratulations. My sister looked radiant, her veil pinned high so lace framed her face. For a second, my chest still pulled toward her. Betrayal does not erase memory. Then Patricia spoke. Diane, you must be relieved. Do you have just the one daughter? My mother placed one hand against Vanessa's back. Just Vanessa, she said. She's my whole world. The words were soft enough to pass as tenderness. They hit me like a door locking. Patricia tilted her head. I thought Ethan mentioned a sister in the Army. Mom's smile did not break. Oh, she said, lowering her voice. Natalie's situation is complicated. She's been overseas so long. She's not really part of our daily family life. Not really part. I stood behind the patio wall and felt something inside me go still. I had not expected Mom to defend me, but I had expected hesitation. Some sign that deleting a daughter required effort. It did not. Patricia's smile stayed, but her eyes sharpened. That must be difficult. Families are complicated, Mom said, with the tired dignity of a woman accepting a burden. A burden. That was the role she had chosen for me. Not daughter, not sister, not soldier. Burden. Vanessa looked toward the patio doors. For 1 second, I thought she had seen me. Maybe she had. Her eyes paused, then slipped away. She leaned closer to Ethan and laughed at something he had not finished saying. That was when anger finally found me. Not loud anger, a colder thing, a clean thing. Mom had used my name in contracts. Vanessa had accepted a wedding polished with my credit. Now they were letting strangers believe my absence was a defect instead of planned exclusion. A guest near the fountain called the ceremony just perfect. Perfect was easy when the unwanted pieces were kept outside the frame. Inside the car, I opened my notes app. Mom said, "Just Vanessa. She's my whole world." Mom said I was not really part of daily family life. I saved it with the time. "You didn't forget me," I whispered. "You remembered exactly where to hide me." At 8:42 p.m., I emailed Melissa Grant from my hotel desk. I wrote like a soldier, not a wounded daughter. My name was listed as cardholder and guarantor for the Whitmore Caldwell wedding. I requested every invoice, approval, seating revision, call note, and file tied to my name or card. I did not mention the door. I did not mention Vanessa looking away. Pain was not evidence. Records were. Melissa replied fast. "Captain Whitmore, I'm sorry for any confusion. Your mother has been our primary family contact, but I can provide documents tied to your authorization." The first attachment was the original contract, my real signature, my real card, my real mistake. Then came the revised invoice, $50,900, itemized line by line, as if betrayal became more respectable when formatted in columns. I opened the email chain. Diane's words were everywhere. "Vanessa has dreamed of this day for so long. Patricia's family is very traditional, so we want everything seamless. My younger daughter, Natalie, is helping privately. She's military and may not be able to attend." There I was again, useful, absent, convenient. Then Melissa forwarded messages from the other address, natalie.whitmore.service. The words were almost mine, if someone had copied responsibility without knowing the woman underneath. I approved the additional floral package. "Please add the patio lighting and bar extension. You may keep Diane copied as the authorized family contact." My pulse stayed slow, but my fingers went numb. The next file was worse. Seating chart draft 1 placed me at table 1 with Diane, Vanessa, Ethan, Patricia, William, and 2 Caldwell relatives. Natalie Whitmore, present. Draft 2 removed me. Melissa's note read, "Change requested by Diane Whitmore. Reason given, Natalie unable to attend due to military duty." A clean lie. No tears, no shouting, just a sentence in a planner's note. I asked whether Melissa had ever spoken to me by phone. No. All upgrade approvals were by email. Mrs. Whitmore stated you were difficult to reach because of your overseas assignment. Difficult to reach. I had answered every call my mother made when she needed something. I saved everything into a folder called Wedding Authorization Dispute. It was not cold. It was how I kept from breaking. At 10:06 p.m., Melissa sent one final scan, the guest check-in list. My name was nowhere on it. Below the list was a note in Diane's handwriting. "Please do not add walk-ins without approval from mother of the bride." I leaned back. There it was. The door, the step, the look on Mom's face. Not a surprise, a policy. Then I played her voicemail. "Natalie, whatever you think happened today, do not embarrass this family. Call me before you make things worse." I did not call. I opened my timeline and added one line. Mother of bride instructed venue not to add walk-ins. I was the walk-in she planned for. For years, Diane had told me family meant loyalty. That night, under the white hotel lamp, I learned loyalty without truth is just a leash with a prettier name. Mom called at 8:11 a.m. I was standing by the hotel window with burnt coffee in a paper cup, looking down at the parking lot where guests from the wedding were loading garment bags into SUVs. I answered on speaker and opened my notebook. "Natalie," she said without hello, "what did you do with the payment?" "Not, are you all right?" "Not, I'm sorry. The payment." That was the daughter she had called for. "I contacted the card issuer," I said. Her breath caught. "You did what?" "I reported potential unauthorized charges tied to the wedding vendors. Anything beyond the original package will need direct verification from me." "Natalie, don't be ridiculous." "I'm being precise." "You signed the contract." "I signed the original authorization. I did not approve the upgrades." A sharp silence followed. I heard dishes clink somewhere behind her. Maybe she was in the kitchen. Maybe she was still at the manor, wearing yesterday's pearls and today's panic. "You are going to ruin your sister's first morning as a married woman," she said. I looked at the notebook. Timeline, invoice, false email, seating chart, guest list, voicemail. Vanessa's morning is not my financial emergency. She is your sister, and I was her sister yesterday. Mom's voice dropped. "Do not start with that." "I did not start this. You showed up without considering how complicated everything was. I flew from Germany after you told me the ceremony time. I never promised you a place." That sentence came out too fast. There it was again. Not a mistake, not confusion. A hidden truth accidentally spoken in daylight. I let it sit between us. Then I said, "Thank you for clarifying." Mom shifted instantly. "That is not what I meant." "It is exactly what you meant. You always twist my words when you feel hurt." "No, I write them down now." She inhaled hard. "You are acting unstable." My hand tightened around the pen. There was the next weapon. Not anger, not guilt, character damage. The old Southern method of smiling while you slipped poison into someone's reputation. "Be careful," I said. "Excuse me?" "I am an Army officer. If you start telling people I'm unstable because I refuse unauthorized charges, you are not protecting Vanessa. You are creating a record." For the first time, she had no immediate answer. So she reached backward, where she always reached when the present stopped obeying her. "After your father left, I gave everything," she said, voice shaking now. "I worked until my feet swelled. I kept food on the table. I kept this family together. I know you struggled." "No, you don't. You went away. You put on a uniform and left me to handle the mess." "I left to build a life." "You left because you could. Vanessa couldn't." "Vanessa was allowed to need people. I was assigned to survive." Mom made a small, wounded sound, the one that used to pull me across any room. This time, I stayed by the window. "I am your mother," she whispered. "And a mother's sacrifice is not a lifetime invoice." The words surprised even me. They were steady, final. Mom began to cry then, but it was not the same sound I remembered from childhood. That sound had once made me ache. This one made me listen more carefully. "You would punish your whole family over money?" "No, I am protecting my name, my credit, and my career. Vanessa will never forgive you. She can decide that after she reads the emails." Another silence. "You wouldn't dare," Mom said. I closed the notebook. Tell whatever story you want. I have the paper trail. She hung up first. I stood there with the dead phone in my hand, waiting for the guilt to flood in. It came, but weaker than before. For once, guilt did not find me alone. Evidence was standing beside me. The first call was to my card issuer. I sat at the hotel desk with every file open, using the calm voice I saved for bad news. I need to report potential unauthorized charges related to wedding vendors, I said. The representative asked whether my card had been stolen. No, I said. My trust was. Then I corrected myself, because banks did not process heartbreak. The original deposit was authorized. The later approvals appear to have been made through an email account that is not mine. That sentence changed the call. I gave dates, vendor names, dollar amounts, and the false address. I asked them to cancel the card, issue a replacement, and note that future charges from those merchants required verification from me. Captain Whitmore, the woman said, I'm documenting that you dispute authorization beyond the initial package. Hearing my rank from a stranger steadied me. The next call was Jenna Price in Virginia. Jenna and I had known each other since ROTC. She had left active duty before commissioning and now worked as a paralegal. I sent her the folder. She called back 20 minutes later. Nat, this is messy, but it is not hopeless. The original contract was a problem because I had signed it. I could not pretend I had never agreed to secure the basic package. But the upgrades, she said, different animal. False email, misrepresentation, possible identity misuse. Could they send the balance to collections under my name? They might try. That's why you move first. Move first. That I understood. Jenna told me not to post online, not to threaten anyone, and not to argue by text. Preserve records. Request written confirmation from vendors. Prepare a demand letter requiring Diane and Vanessa to assume responsibility for charges I had not personally approved. Then I called Army legal assistance. The attorney could not represent me in a civil dispute, but he treated it like risk management. Protect your credit report, he said. Consider a fraud alert or credit freeze. If identity misuse occurred, you may need a police report. Financial review. In my world, unpaid debt could raise questions about judgment, vulnerability, reliability. Diane had not merely reached into my wallet. She had reached toward my clearance, my record, my ability to stand in rooms I had earned. By noon, I had a new card coming, a dispute case number, and Jenna's instructions for the first formal email. Wedding guests had gone home with stories about a beautiful ceremony. I had gone home with the case file. The first text came from a cousin I had not seen in 4 years. I know weddings are emotional, but your mom is devastated. Maybe don't make this about money? I stared at the screen in my hotel room, suitcase half packed beside the bed. So that was the angle. Money. Not the door, not the false email, not the missing chair, just money, clean and ugly enough to make me look small. By lunch, the story had spread. Mom told people I had promised to help with Vanessa's wedding, then panicked and tried to pull funding after feeling excluded from the bridal party. She told an aunt that military life overseas had made me harder to reach emotionally. She told someone from church I was under stress and not quite myself. Not quite myself. That phrase was more dangerous than shouting. It sounded like concern, but it planted doubt. For a woman in uniform, doubt could travel farther than gossip should ever be allowed to go. Vanessa texted at 1:36 p.m. Ethan's parents are asking questions. Why are you doing this? I looked at her message for a long moment before answering. Did you know I wasn't on the guest list? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Mom said it would be easier. I read that sentence once, then again. Easier for who? No answer. That silence did not shock me. It clarified her. Vanessa had not forged the email. Maybe she had not seen the invoices. Maybe she had not known the total had reached $50,900. But she had known there was no place for me. And she had chosen a perfect wedding over an honest sister. My phone rang before I could put it down. Aunt Ruth. Mom's younger sister had always been the one who said less at family gatherings and noticed more. I almost let it go to voicemail, then answered. Natalie, she said, voice low. I heard enough to know your mother's version has holes in it. I sat on the edge of the bed. I'm not imagining this? No, sweetheart, you're not. The word sweetheart from Ruth did not feel like bait. It felt like a blanket placed carefully around cold shoulders. She's telling people I'm trying to ruin Vanessa's marriage, I said. She has always protected the version of herself she needs people to love. Ruth hesitated, then added, there's something else. Your father was not honest enough with you girls emotionally, but Diane was not honest about everything either. I went still. What do you mean? Raymond did send child support for years. Not always gracefully, not enough to make up for leaving, but he sent it. Your mother let you believe he gave nothing. The room seemed to tilt slightly. Raymond had failed us. That part remained true. He had missed birthdays, recitals, ordinary Tuesdays when a father should have called. But Mom had shaped his failure into a cleaner villainy because it made her sacrifice untouchable. After I hung up, I called him. He answered on the fourth ring. Natalie? I had not called him Dad in years. Raymond, I said. Did you send support after the divorce? A long breath moved through the line. Yes. Why didn't you tell us? Because paying money didn't make me a good father, he said quietly. And because your mother made it clear she didn't want me rewriting anything. For once, he did not excuse himself. I was absent, he said. That's on me. But I did not leave you with nothing. He sent old records that evening, bank transfers, court notes, proof from a past I had never been allowed to read. I added them to a separate folder, not because they fixed anything, because they showed a pattern. Diane Whitmore did not just lie when cornered. She curated reality. She decided who was fragile, who was guilty, who was useful, who was gone. The wedding had not created her method. It had only put it in writing. On Tuesday morning, I sent one email to Diane, Vanessa, Ethan, Patricia, and William Caldwell. No insults, no begging, no dramatic subject line, just this: documentation regarding wedding authorization and attendance. I wrote the timeline as if I were briefing a commander. I had agreed to secure the original $33,200 wedding package. I had authorized the $5,150 deposit. Diane had told me she would handle RSVP and seating because I was family. I had flown from Germany to Raleigh at my own expense. I had arrived before the ceremony. Diane had denied me entry and stated I was not on the guest list. Then I attached the rest: the revised invoices, the false email address, the upgrade approvals I had never sent, the seating chart that first included me, then removed me under the false reason of military duty. Vanessa's text. Mom said it would be easier. The bank dispute number. I ended with one sentence. I am not asking for revenge. I am asking for my name back. For 6 hours, no one replied. Then Ethan called. His voice sounded rough, older than it had any right to sound after 2 days of marriage. Natalie, he said, I didn't know. I believe you. Vanessa told me you couldn't come because of duty. I know. A silence stretched between us, heavy but not hostile. My mother wants to speak with you, he said. Patricia Caldwell came on the line with the careful calm of a woman raised to keep her voice soft while cutting straight to bone. Captain Whitmore, I owe you an apology for accepting an explanation without asking enough questions. That sentence did something my own mother's tears never had. It gave me dignity without making me earn it. I appreciate that, Mrs. Caldwell. Patricia, please. Then her tone cooled. I have asked Vanessa one question. If you were not invited, why was your name on the contract? I closed my eyes. That was a whole wedding stripped bare. Ethan did not leave Vanessa that day. Life is rarely that neat. But he required full financial disclosure, counseling, and a written plan to separate their household from Diane's control. Patricia and William withdrew their offer to cover any remaining reception-related balances until the authorization issue was resolved. By nightfall, Mom called. This time, she cried before saying my name. Natalie, I was under pressure. You do not know what it feels like to have people like Patricia judging every fork, every flower, every weakness. No, I said, but I know what it feels like to be treated as the weakness. I only wanted Vanessa to have one beautiful day. You made that day with my card and without my chair. She sobbed harder. Once, that would have ended me. Now, I let the sound pass through the phone without opening the door inside my chest. There are 3 conditions, I said. You and Vanessa will sign responsibility for all charges I did not personally authorize. You will correct the story you told relatives and church friends about me being jealous or unstable. And you will never again use my name, my email, my rank, or my financial information. You would do this to your own mother? No, Diane, you did this. I'm putting it where it belongs. Jenna helped draft the formal letter. Melissa paused any further charges to my card while the dispute was reviewed. The vendors did not erase the balance. They redirected it to the people who had ordered the beauty and stood smiling inside it. Mom and Vanessa signed a payment plan. A month later, back in Germany, I received one final message from Mom. One day you'll understand what I went through. I made tea, watched the gray sky settle over Wiesbaden, and typed back. I understand you struggled. I also understand I don't have to pay for it anymore. Then I blocked her for a while. Not forever, not as punishment, as peace. Some families only call you blood when they need you to bleed for them. Some love is not love at all, only access with a softer name. I learned that being strong was never an invitation to be used. And truth does not ruin a family. It only ruins the lie pretending to be one. If this story touched you, please leave a like for the channel. If you have advice or thoughts, share them in the comments below and tell us where you are listening from. Thank you for staying until the end. Wishing you health, peace, and strength in your own life. See you again in the next story on Revenge Glow.